So Binance might have just shown us what the future of finance looks like and hardly anyone in crypto seems to be talking about it. Tokenized stock trading has just exploded to 11.3 billion US dollars in monthly volume, which is a 288% increase from the previous month. But here's the really interesting part. Binance wasn't just involved in the growth, they were responsible for the vast majority of it. One Binance product alone accounted for more than 80% of the entire tokenized stock market during July. So, what exactly is going on, and why could this be a really bullish long-term development for Binance and BNB? Let's get into it. First of all, what are tokenized stocks? In simple terms, they're digital tokens on the blockchain that represent traditional financial assets like stocks and ETFs. So instead of going through a normal stockbroker, waiting for bank transfers and only being able to trade during market hours, you can gain exposure to these assets through the blockchain technology. Now, we're still in the early stages of this industry, but the latest numbers suggest it's growing rapidly. During July, tokenized stock trading reached a record 11.3 billion US dollars, and this is where Binance comes into the story. Its bStocks platform generated around $9.4 billion of that volume. One product in particular called QQQB, which tracks the Nasdaq 100 ETF, processed around $9.27 billion on its own. That means roughly 83% of all tokenized stock trading happened on Binance. Now, it's important to be fair here. Binance helped drive this growth by introducing zero maker fees and extra VIP rewards for traders, so promotions definitely played a part. But even with incentives, you don't generate billions of dollars of trading unless people actually want to use the products. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this story. For years, tokenized stocks have been talked about as something that might become important in the future. Well, now we're starting to see real demand, and I don't think this is really about one product or even 1 month of trading. I think it's about where Binance is heading as a business. When most people think about Binance, they think about buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, or altcoins, but Binance clearly has much bigger ambitions than that. Imagine you already hold USDT on Binance. Instead of sending money back to your bank, opening a brokerage account, and buying stocks for a traditional platform, you could potentially stay inside the Binance ecosystem and gain exposure to traditional financial markets without ever leaving crypto. That's a much smoother experience for a lot of users, and if Binance can keep people on its platform for longer, trading more products, that's potentially good for the business over the long term. It also gives Binance another source of revenue beyond normal crypto trading. The bigger point is that Binance doesn't just want to be the world's biggest crypto exchange anymore. It looks like it wants to become a platform where people trade all kinds of financial assets. Crypto, stocks, ETFs, and maybe even more tokenized assets in the future. Another reason I think this matters is because of BNB itself. BNB already plays a huge role inside the Binance ecosystem. People use it for trading fee discounts, launch pool participation, staking, gas fees on the BNB chain, and a range of other utilities. So if Binance continues expanding and attracting more users through products like tokenized stock, that strengthens the entire Binance ecosystem. Now, I'm not saying this means BNB is suddenly going to double overnight. That's not how markets work. But when the company behind an ecosystem keeps expanding into new markets and attracting more activity, it generally strengthens the long-term investment case. Of course, there are still some risks. The headline sounds incredible, but more than 80% of the trading came from one product, so we shouldn't assume the entire industry is growing at the same pace. Some of that volume was also encouraged by promotional incentives, so it'll be interesting to see whether activity remains strong once those promotions actually finish. And finally, regulation is still a big unknown. Tokenized stocks sit somewhere between traditional finance and crypto, and governments all around the world are still figuring out how these products should be regulated. So it's definitely not a risk-free story. But overall, I think this is one of the clearest signs yet that tokenized finance is starting to move into the mainstream. Binance isn't just watching that happen, it's helping lead it. And if tokenized stocks become a normal part of investing over the next 5 or 10 years, Binance has already given itself a huge start. For me, that's the biggest takeaway from this story. It's not just an impressive 11.3 billion US dollar number. It's about Binance positioning itself to become much more than a crypto exchange. If that vision plays out, today's headline could end up looking like one of its early milestones in a much bigger trend. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know in the comments, do you think tokenized stocks are the future of investing, or is it just another short-term trend? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.